Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I'm going to talk about the debt ceiling a little bit. Some people don't believe this is actually going to happen. A lot of people actually don't believe this is going to happen. But whether they think it's just brinkmanship, the Biden on one side and the Republicans on the other. Republicans want to cut funding to the Ukraine, to our military sponsorship of the Ukraine. I've heard that over and over again from Republicans I talk to. Democrats, they want to fund the IRS because I watched Doris Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury, on Face the Nation, and he interviewed her, the moderator, and he said a lot of people don't believe that June 1st is actually a hard date, that there's a real possibility that since the first time since 1787 the country is going to default. There's a real solid possibility that there's going to be hard choices. Bills aren't going to be paid. Medicare, Social Security, the armed forces salaries. I looked up another thing too, because I talked to postal employees and they didn't seem that worried about it. And I realized I read that postal employees and people on with pensions shouldn't be affected by this. But I talked to some other people who have just lost faith in the country. I know back after the election in 2020, a lot of people believed Donald Trump. They lost faith. A lot of Republicans lost faith in democracy, in our democracy, in voting. I'm not one of those people. I know that Donald Trump was full of it. But a lot of people believed him and then subsequently lost faith in America. And now this is what I see happening is the other half of people that depend on Social Security and Medicare are losing faith. And regardless of whatever happens on June 1st, there's still this fear I see in these people. The country has become unreliable. After I talked to a couple people this weekend, I realized this fear isn't going to go away. This is a solid, real fear that people don't know if they're going to have a place to live or if they're even going to live for the next couple of months. And I'll explain. This didn't even occur to me until after I talked to a couple. This is very real. All right. Like I said, so on one side you have Biden that wants to get tax cheats like Donald Trump, to invest in the IRS because there's trillions of dollars over the next decade that are being avoided, deadbeats, not being paid in taxes. And Doris Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury, was saying that this investing in the IRS, it's not investing, it's actually going to pay off because of the trillions of dollars corporations, billionaires and millionaires are avoiding paying in taxes. There's trillions of dollars that need to be collected, and we need to give the IRS the tools to collect these. On the Republican side, they don't want to pay these taxes. They believe that the IRS is going to be militarized or some other crap. They just don't want to pay their bills. They don't want to be part of normal society. Okay, I'm going to tell you about I'll try to tell it just take two, I'll make this short. I'll tell you about two people. I talked to 4 or 5 people over this weekend, and 2 of the people, one was an 82-year-old man. He lost his wife about 10 years ago from cancer, and he lost a lot of money. He lost his home in 2008 with the housing crisis, and he lives basically on Social Security, and that's where he pays his rent with. It looks like he lives fairly comfortably. And this man I see the look in his eyes, and he lives month to month, and he seriously doesn't know if he's going to have the rent. He's going to have a whole roof over his head past next month. Whether or not this is brinkmanship or just some kind of negotiation, it's affecting people in a very real way. This faith in the government isn't going to come back after June 1st. I think these people have permanently lost trust in this government, in the United States of America. The United States is broken. They can't pay, it's more than not being able to pay the bills. It's the fact that these two sides are doing this nonsense where I'm angry with Biden taking off to Japan for this G7 summit and just leaving these negotiations. Ticked off at the Republicans for not giving in, for not wanting to go after tax cheats. I think everybody's to blame, and the government is broken. Now, here's the really scary part. I did not realize this. I told you guys, I've been in recovery for 16 and a half years, right? And medically assisted treatment was a big part of my recovery. Methadone saved my life. I didn't even think about this until I talked to somebody this weekend. Since I've been out of recovery, I think it was about around 2018 or 2019, Medicare began covering methadone, MAT, medically assisted treatment, Suboxone, stuff like that, because there's a lot of baby boomers that became addicted to opioids, getting older and everything with Oxycontin and oxycodone. A lot of baby boomers, people on Social Security, were having problems with opioid addiction, and Medicare began to pay for medically assisted treatment. This is stuff I wasn't too sure of. Like I said, methadone saved my life. So I talked to some people, a couple people over the weekend, that are on medically assisted treatment right now. They've been in treatment for about 9 months. And they are terrified because Medicare pays for their treatment every week, every 2 weeks, or every month. And that'll stop. They're terrified. They don't know what'll happen. They don't have money to cover this. So what happens when Medicare stops paying and the clinic demands payment and they can't pay it? And the clinic isn't going to provide, it's a business. It's not going to provide free medication. These people are terrified. What's going to, and I saw the fear on their faces. They will go into severe withdrawals. Ultimately, they'll go back to the street. This is what these people said to me. This hadn't even occurred to me until this weekend when I talked to these people. And, and having gone through that myself, I started getting scared just watching it, just talking to these people. Okay, so these, like I said, these couple people that I talked to, older people, older than me, that are in treatment right now, and they don't know as of past June 1st if their medication will be covered, their opioid treatment medication, Suboxone, methadone, and so on. And what's going to happen then? I mean, they actually see themselves, if you've ever been through opioid withdrawal, I won't get into that. But more than likely, these people would be back on the street taking fentanyl or heroin or whatever within 24 hours and overdosing and probably dying. So we're talking freaking life or death here. And I saw the look in these people's faces. And I realized this. This fear isn't just going to go away. Whether or not this is resolved, maybe this is really is brinkmanship. Maybe there won't be a default. But this fear that I saw in these people's faces, it's not going to go away. It's not just going to disappear when everything's settled. These people know that the country is broken now. It can't pay its bills. And worse than that, that's not even the worst part, is that these two sides are so far apart now. There's such division between Republicans and Democrats, that the country is broken. They can't come to any consensus on anything anymore. It was basically a two-party system, and now the two parties are so far apart that the country is broken. People are losing trust. The country is unreliable. That's what I saw in these people's faces. When I talked to these recovering addicts, and I saw the fear that they might not be able to continue with their treatment to stay clean and sober, that they might be actually being forced back onto the street. This is their reality right now. Thousands of people in recovery are terrified of this. The country is broken, and it's not just the Democrats, it's not just Republicans. A lot of it I blame on Donald Trump for this such division after 2016, where the country just becomes more and more divided that we can't agree on anything. We can't come to any consensus on anything. Since the first time since 1787, we're looking at really not paying our bills. And whether or not this is brinkmanship, whether or not whether or not this gets resolved by June 1st, these people have lost confidence permanently in this country. As a matter of fact, the first man I talked about, the 82-year-old man that lost his wife to cancer and isn't sure if he's going to be able to pay his rent next month, he is seriously considering borrowing money from his kids and moving to Costa Rica, moving out of the country. And this is a real thing. Like I said, so at first it was the lies from Donald Trump that divided the country. The Republicans didn't believe that democracy, that the vote was real. And now the division that Trump created, the two far right and the far left not being able to agree on anything, it's created more distrust in the country. The country is just, I think it's irrevocably broken and unreliable at this point. When I talked to these people this weekend, I realized that. I'm going to do another video today. I realized I've done over 2,000 videos here on YouTube, one every single day for the last 5 years. And that has a lot to do, a lot of my work ethic came from being an addict. I'm going to explain that to you in the next video. Have a good Monday.